Title: The Last Ember. Part 1. Before the Fire. The city of Orenhill was known for two things: its glass towers and its warriors. Set between silver mountains and the blackened sea, it shimmered like a dream. But for Leon, a 22-year-old mechanic with calloused hands and quiet eyes, it was just home. His world was simpler than the steel giants around him. It was made up of oil-stained gloves, old engines, and her, Elira. Elira was the kind of girl people noticed. With raven black hair and eyes like dawn over snow, she worked at a bookstore that smelled like secrets and paper. She loved poetry and hated the sound of breaking glass. Leon adored her from the first time she called him Metalhead for fixing a broken lamp in the shop without asking. For 2 years, they were inseparable. He fixed things, and she read him stories while he did. But then came the summoning. The eastern border of the kingdom had cracked, a tear in the sky had opened, and from it came things no one could name. The Rift War had begun. Every able-bodied man was conscripted, and Leon, with his sharp reflexes and uncanny ability to feel machines, was drafted into the 7th Mechanized Division. The night before his departure, they sat on the rooftop, wrapped in a threadbare blanket, watching the floating lanterns of Orenhill drift into the sky. He promised he'd return. She promised she'd wait. "I love you," she whispered. "I'll come back with the stars," he said. But war devours time like fire does air. Leon quickly learned that this war wasn't just guns and gears. The rift was a wound in the world, and what bled through it was monstrous. Wraiths that could scream you blind, shadows that rewrote your memories, beasts with eyes in their chests and voices that mimicked your mother. His unit was tasked with operating Sentinel suits, ancient exo-armors built from pre-rift tech, powered by Ethereum, and bonded to the minds of their users. Leon's affinity with machines made him one of the best. They called him Ember One. He stopped writing after 6 months. Not because he didn't want to, but because letters stopped coming back. Back in Orenhill, Elira had changed. The war was distant to those untouched by its horrors. Her nights grew longer. She cried at first, waited, but then the letters stopped. People told her it meant he was dead. "He probably died in some forgotten trench," one man said at a tavern. She drank too much that night. And that's when she met Darius. Handsome, wealthy, the heir of a merchant house that supplied arms to the front lines. He whispered comfort, promised safety, and slowly, guilt twisted into silence. When Leon was declared missing in action, she accepted Darius's proposal. She never told him the truth about Leon. She buried that part of her heart. 2 years passed. Then, during the siege of Vareth, Leon's unit was ambushed by Rift Spawn. His sentinel was torn apart, and he lost his right arm. Half conscious, bleeding out in the ruins of a burning tower, he activated his last flare. He should have died. But something answered. From the rift itself, a silver flame descended, a being calling itself Vale, a forgotten guardian of the border between worlds. "You should be dead," it said, "but you burn brighter than most." Vale offered him a choice: let go, or live, changed. Leon chose vengeance. Vale rebuilt him, fusing old Sentinel tech into his body, crafting a prosthetic arm powered by raw Ethereum, and awakening latent abilities, the power to manipulate metal and flame. He became something more than a soldier. He became Ashborn. Now, with the war's tide turning, Leon was coming home. But not to find Elira. He only wanted peace. Or so he thought, until he saw the wedding announcement. Elira and Darius, joined in union at the Sky Chapel of Orenhill. The fire inside him, long buried, sparked once more. Part 2. Ashes in the Wind. Leon had never meant to return to Orenhill. After 2 years in the Riftlands, the city felt alien, too polished, too quiet. He walked through the market, hooded and unnoticed, his metal arm wrapped in cloth. The scent of spiced bread and street oil filled his nose, familiar but distant. People moved past him, laughing, bartering, living, as if the world hadn't cracked open beyond the mountains. He had planned to check in with the War Council, file a report, and vanish. But the moment he saw the banner fluttering over the marble steps of the Sky Chapel, all of that changed. Elira and Darius, united under the eye of the heavens. Ceremony, tomorrow night. He read it once. Then again. His heart didn't break. It burned. That night, he stood on the cliffs outside the city, his mind unraveling. Vale's voice stirred within the Ethereum core that beat faintly in his chest. The pain anchors you, but it also blinds you. I trusted her, Leon whispered. She left me, replaced me. She feared death. You walked through it. The wind howled over the cliffs, carrying the echoes of the war. Leon unclenched his hand. The prosthetic fingers hissed, steam rising from the joints. He didn't cry. He couldn't. But deep within, a vow ignited. She would look him in the eye again, and she would see what she had lost. The next day, Oren buzzed with ceremony. Darius, dressed in golden silk and self-importance, smiled for the cameras. Elira stood beside him, beautiful and numb. Her dress shimmered like starlight. The guests whispered praises. No one saw the coldness behind her smile. No one but Leon. He watched from the crowd, standing beneath a tree like a shadow. For a brief moment, Elira's gaze swept across the people and paused. Their eyes locked. She went pale. Leon didn't move. He only turned and disappeared into the mist. That night, fire erupted in the eastern quarter. A rift spawned. A flying, serpentine horror emerged from a hidden gate torn open by rogue mages. Panic swept through the city. The Sky Chapel went into lockdown, guards scrambling to protect the elite. But it wasn't soldiers who stopped the creature. It was him. People saw a man with fire in his veins rise from the shadows, hurling metal like lightning, moving with a ghost's speed. The beast fell screaming, its body burning from within. The hero disappeared into smoke, leaving only ash. They called him the Ashborn. Elira heard the name that night, and something in her chest twisted. Did you know him? Darius asked casually. The Ashborn. She stared out the window, gripping her necklace. It was the one Leon had given her years ago. She still wore it, though Darius thought it was a family heirloom. No, she lied. Just a myth. But she knew. She knew it was him. That same night, Leon slipped into the War Council's chamber. The generals stood when they saw him. 2 years ago, he was a mechanic. Now he was legend. Ember 1, General Harrow said. Or should we say, Ashborn? I'm not interested in medals, Leon said. But I want to know who opened the rift near the city. There's suspicion, Harrow said, lowering his voice. We believe House Vexer may be involved. They're linked to illegal Ethereum trafficking. Darius Vexer inherited the network. Leon's eyes narrowed. Darius. Of course. The man hadn't just stolen his love. He was selling weapons to enemies, tearing the world further open for profit. That night, Elira walked alone in the chapel garden. She couldn't sleep. The fire in her chest grew louder with every hour. She remembered Leon's promises, his laughter, the grease on his fingers. And then, the silence. She had mourned him, hadn't she? No, she had run. From pain, from waiting. And now he had returned, not as a man, but as something forged in flame. She whispered into the wind, Leon, I'm sorry. And for a moment, the trees rustled, as if they had heard. Leon watched from the shadows. He didn't speak. He had no words left for her. But he had a purpose now. And Elira's new husband, her ally in betrayal, was the key to something darker. Something that could destroy everything. Part 3, Riftstorm. The war was not over. It had only shifted its shape. 2 nights after the Sky Chapel wedding, the first signs appeared. Small ruptures flickered open across the city, flashes of violet flame splitting the air. Birds died mid-flight. Clock towers stopped ticking. The Ethereum grid, which powered Orenhill's tech, surged wildly. Leon stood in the ruins of an old Sentinel facility on the city's edge, piecing together fragments of intel. The rift wasn't just bleeding through on its own, it was being amplified. Someone inside Orenhill was accelerating the collapse, and the source pointed directly at House Vexer. Darius. The nobleman had acquired more than wealth from the war. He had bought black market Ethereum from war zones, sold rift tech to corrupt mages, and experimented with portals behind gilded walls. His ambition wasn't peace. It was power. Leon broke into the Vexer vault under cover of night. Ethereum batteries pulsed along the walls. Rift stones, unstable crystals harvested from the other side, glowed with unholy light. Diagrams scattered across a table showed a horrifying truth. Darius was building a rift gate, a permanent doorway between realms. If it activated, it could collapse reality across the entire eastern seaboard. Orenhill would become a gateway. Leon's pulse quickened. This wasn't revenge anymore. This was war. He turned and froze. Elira stood in the doorway. Her eyes widened in shock. Leon? He didn't answer. Not with words. Only his mechanical arm lit up with blue flame, ready to destroy everything in the vault. But she stepped forward, voice trembling. I didn't know what he was doing. I swear to you. He said it was research, energy, trade. You left me to die, Leon said, voice like steel. I thought you were dead. You thought I was inconvenient. His voice rose. You married the man funding the monsters that killed my brothers. Tears filled her eyes. I made a mistake. A terrible one. But this, what he's doing, it's not what I wanted. Leon stared at her. You can walk away now, he said. Or you can help me stop him. Darius didn't wait long to strike. When he discovered the break-in, he summoned something from the rift, not a beast, but a warden, a creature of pure shadow armored in obsidian, bound to his bloodline. It attacked at dawn, crashing through Orenhill's defense tower like a storm. The city erupted in chaos. Civilians fled. Soldiers fought blindly. And the rift gate, hidden beneath the old armory, began to pulse, opening inch by inch. Only Leon could stop it. In the final confrontation, Leon faced Darius at the base of the rift gate. The device roared behind them, swallowing light. Reality bent, and voices from the other side whispered promises of immortality, of dominion. Darius, wearing a rift-infused exosuit, laughed. You were a fool to return, he sneered. You were meant to die? Elira deserves more than a broken machine. Leon said nothing. Then he moved. The battle was furious, flame against shadow, machine against magic. Darius fought like a man drunk on power, but Leon had fire in his soul, fueled by rage, betrayal, and something purer, purpose. He dismantled Darius piece by piece. And when the rift threatened to swallow them both, he turned his power inward and sealed it. His Ethereum core burned brighter than ever, overloaded, unstable. Elira appeared in the smoke, screaming his name. He turned to her, weary, scorched, bleeding. Tell the city it's safe. No, she cried. Don't you dare leave again. But he smiled calm. Then the core exploded, a blinding flash of silver flame. And just like that, Ashbourne was gone. For 3 days, the city mourned. Statues were built. Songs were written. People whispered stories of the fireborn warrior who saved them all. Elira, dressed in black, never left the ruins of the gate. She had lost everything, not once, but twice. And this time, it was her fault. Until, on the 4th night, something stirred in the ashes. Part 4. The Return of Fire. Orenhill believed him dead. The Ashbourne, savior of the city, slayer of rift spawn, breaker of the forbidden gate, had vanished in light. His body never found. Just a scorched crater and a melted suit of armor, fused into the ground like a monument. The city wept. Children left flowers at the ruin. Soldiers whispered prayers. The war was over, but peace tasted like ash. Elira did not leave the site for days. She sat among the rubble, silent, broken, haunted by the weight of every choice she made. In one hand, she held the charred remains of Leon's old pendant, the one she'd worn even after marrying Darius. The chain was twisted, blackened, but somehow, it still pulsed with faint warmth. Until, one night, it sparked. Deep beneath the surface, in the ruins below the rift gate, life returned. Leon had not died. Vale, the ancient guardian of the border, had pulled him through the collapsing gate in the instant before detonation. Inside the rift's heart, time folded differently. Minutes stretched into weeks, but Leon endured. His Ethereum core had burned out, but something greater had awakened. He had become more than machine, more than fire. He had become the last warden, a being reforged by both realms, carrying the essence of balance between the worlds. When he returned, walking barefoot from the crater at dawn, the city gasped. The Ashbourne reborn. They gathered in the thousands to see him. Not in armor now, but in robes of molten silk, his right arm still mechanical, but glowing faintly blue, no longer hissing. It was alive, connected to him like muscle and soul. His eyes held fire and mercy. He addressed the people of Orenhill from the high steps of the Sky Chapel. We thought the rift was the enemy, he said. But the true enemy was within, greed, betrayal, fear. The rift will heal, and so will we. But only if we protect what is left, together. The city knelt before him. Elira approached him at twilight. She wore no jewelry, no title, just the look of someone who had seen her reflection in a broken mirror and finally understood. "I don't deserve to speak to you," she said softly. He looked at her, the girl who once read poetry in a bookstore, who waited, who wavered, who fell. "You made choices," he said. "We all do. I should have waited." Leon tilted his head. "No, you should have fought." Tears fell silently. "I'm sorry," she whispered. He looked past her, to the glowing horizon. "I know, but forgiveness was not the same as love. Not anymore." Her punishment wasn't fire. It was living with the memory of what she destroyed. Darius was gone. House Vexer stripped of its power, disgraced. She no longer had title or influence, only truth. Elira left the city a week later, choosing exile in the Western Isles. It was said she opened a small library there and never remarried. Some say she lit a candle every night, whispering a name to the stars. But Leon never visited. He stayed in Orenhill, not as a soldier, but as a guardian. He rebuilt the city's defense systems. He taught children to respect the fire, not fear it. He forged new sentinels, not machines of war, but protectors of peace. And when a new tier opened far to the north, he went, not to fight, but to heal it. The rift whispered still, but Leon had learned to listen. Because even in the deepest shadow, there is always a last ember.